We've got some economic data that we're watching this morning. Housing data is out. November housing starts expected to decline slightly from the 1.23 million from October's 9-year high. This is as mortgage rates, of course, inch higher in the wake of the Federal Reserve's decision this week to raise interest rates by 0.25%. Joining us right now is PwC partner Mitch Roschelle. Mitch, good to see you.
Thanks, Maria.
And you say that you were talking to some of your colleagues and your brother-in-law.
My cousin.
Your cousin, who is a mortgage broker. And already,
who loves the shout out, by the way.
All right. Thank you for watching. And you say he's already changed some behavior as a result of a move in a mortgage rate.
There's good news and bad news, right? The bad news is, and Don and I were talking during the commercial break, there's an affordability crisis around housing. The good news is the consumer who's buying is really optimistic about the prospects of values rising, but there's this race to the finish line because everybody wants to do everything before rates go up. They've gone up 0.5 point, and that basically the same 0.5 point for the 2 quarter points that the Fed has raised. So we really haven't moved mortgage rates that appreciably. But if you have 3 rate increases next year, I think that scares the ever-living daylights out of folks, so they want to do something now. The problem is there's no inventory on the market, so they can't buy the home. And with no inventory, prices are going up. So there's kind of a good news, bad news situation in housing right now.
Yeah, it is expensive, though, right? I mean, it's locking a lot of people out of the market.
It is, and down payment still remains the biggest challenge for folks. And so we'll see what happens. If the administration eases regulation to the benefit of local medium-sized lending institutions, and they can be a little bit more relaxed with underwriting standards, that could put a little bit more fuel in the engine to help the housing market a little bit more.
This is your business.
Yes, it is.
What do you say?
I agree with him in almost everything he said.
That's good.
In fact, down payments are the big issue. What's happened now is millennials, they had a different relationship with housing and home ownership than my generation and others, because we always know the long-term nature of real estate. It always goes up over time, outpaces inflation. They don't know that. They saw a housing crisis. They saw fraud in the mortgage business and the like. But now their rents are so high that they can buy. And they can actually, on a net effective basis after taxes, own for less than they can buy. Their challenge is down payment. And that's because of these absurd regulations that have put banks in a position to over-underwrite these loans, over-qualify borrowers. And so if we can move leverage up from the 70% area where it is now to 85%, that's a whole different story. And we'll see a lot of activity.
And what's interesting is in a period of rising rates, banks want to lend because it's profitable business. They just feel like they're in handcuffs and they can't do it.
So you think this rollback in regs is going to help that, loosen it up?
I don't think it's going to help the big banks. I think it's going to help on the margin, but hopefully materially with the local banks, because for a lot of borrowers, they go to the local bank for financing. And that holds true for commercial real estate as well as for the housing market. If you can go into your local bank and get a loan where you have your deposits, it's sort of the way the banking industry had been for a long time. And that's what we're hearing in the marketplace right now.
Do you think it's a buyer's market or a seller's market?
I think it's actually the first time in a long time it's almost imbalanced. I think there's a few outlying markets where it's a seller's market. I think New York is an imbalanced market right now.
Yeah, New York, San Francisco, the coastal cities are out of whack. But Don, to your point earlier, Atlanta is my perfect example, which is it is cheaper to buy a home in Atlanta than it is to rent in Atlanta. Down payment remains a challenge.
Interesting.
So.
Mitch, great to see you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks so much for your insights.
All right. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. And Mitch Roschelle joining us there.